If you're new, this intro sets the tone. Lots of people like the song. That's why it's here. The support section is after that. It helps me keep the work going. The method section explains how I do what I do. If you've been here before, go ahead and skip ahead. If not, and if you're new, please don't miss what matters.
In the shadows where the silence speaks, I walk the line where the lost souls seek. With whispers of hope and a guiding light, I'll search the dark, bring the truth to light. I'm a seeker of the unseen, bridging worlds where the heart has been. With every heartbeat, every tear, I'll find the way, I'll draw you near. Through the echoes of the past I tread, unlocking stories of the words unsaid. With every vision I'll stand my ground. In the name of love, the lost will be found. I'm a seeker of the unseen, bridging worlds where the heart has been. With every heartbeat, every tear, I'll find the way, I'll draw you near. Hope is fading, I won't let go. I'll be your compass, your guiding glow. Together we'll break through the darkest night. For every lost soul, I'll bring back the light. I'm a seeker of the unseen, bridging worlds where the heart has been. With every heartbeat, every tear, I'll find a way, I'll draw you near. I'm a seeker of the unseen, I'm bridging worlds where the heart has been. Where the heart, with every heartbeat, every tear, I'll find the way, I'll draw you near. Of the past I tread, unlocking stories of the words unsaid. With every vision I'll stand my ground. In the name of love, the lost will be found. Through the echoes of the past I tread, unlocking stories of the words unsaid. With every vision I'll stand my ground. In the name of love, the lost will be found. Through the echoes of the past I tread, unlocking stories of the words unsaid. With every vision I'll stand my ground. In the name of love, the lost will be found. When hope and hope is fading, I won't let go. I'll be your compass, your guiding glow. Together we'll break through the darkest night. For every lost soul, I'll bring back the light. When hope is fading, I won't let go. I'll be your compass, your guiding glow. Together we'll break through the darkest night. For every lost soul, I'll bring back the light.
Hi guys, before we dive in, I just want to ground us for a second. Because what I share here isn't just content, it's part of a much bigger mission. These reads, these truths, the channeling, the cases, it all takes real energy, time, and spiritual labor. And part of how I stay in the work without burning out is through decks, memorial pieces, magical merch, scheduled readings, and new offerings that I've created for the collective. Interested in learning how to channel, where to begin your sacred work, or just jump into true crime readings? I've got some powerful classes coming up. Spots are limited and are starting soon, so grab your spot in the PayHip store. And yes, payment options are available to make it easier for you to grab what speaks to your spirit. So if something resonates and you feel called to support, check out the links below. Just a quick snippet about Justice's training. This isn't just obedience, it's destiny. His astrology confirms it. Justice was born to protect, serve, and walk beside me to find the missing. This is part of his soul contract and mission. If you feel called to support this part of the mission, know that every pause step he takes is guided by purpose. Every search we do is sacred. If you believe in the work, the calling, or the cause, your support means everything. Again, you'll find my shops, the GoFundMe for Justice's training, in the Linktree below. No pressure, just alignment, real support for real work. Real quick, I've partnered with a friend over at Healing Gem Studio, a beautiful small shop that offers handpicked crystals, mystical pieces, and sacred tools for your spiritual path. By shopping through the link in the description and using the code SLEUTH10, you'll get a special discount, and portion of your purchase also supports me directly. Support the mission, like, subscribe, leave positive comments. Your support doesn't have to be big. Say it's just about intention. So say a prayer, drop a donation. If you're feeling fancy, every little bit fuels the mission. And if there's anything I create or offer that speaks to you, grab it. I hope you enjoy it because everything has intention and love built in. Quick reminder before we get to the work. Let me explain how I work and how I do this. My readings can pull from the past, present, or potential futures. Sometimes all three at once. Spirit doesn't follow a clock. Time here isn't linear, it's layered. So if something comes through that you're like, wait, is that now or before? It might be both. Symbolism is key. Now, real quick. I've been doing most of my channeling and card work ahead of time lately. And honestly, the channel is way clearer that way. It helps cut through all the interference I usually pick up when I read live. That said, I still experience prophetic sequencing. It's a real thing. And it means I might receive parts of the story out of order or months before they play out. You'll see it when it hits later. This is especially true if I decide to do an auto write. So trust. I use cards as an extension of my intuition, not just as tools, but as mirrors that reflect the energetic truth that Spirit is showing me. These aren't just random pools, they're part of my psychic map, a way for Spirit to validate, confirm, and guide the process in a symbolic or literal way. The cards may speak to the past, present, or future, or even show patterns that are more symbolic or metaphorical. It depends on what Spirit needs to reveal. When you see me using my own deck, Forensic True Crime Oracle, they are built from years of working in this field, tuned specifically for the kind of channeling I do. That matters because each card holds layers of meaning that have been energetically aligned to support this work. You'll notice how often they hit. That's not a coincidence, that's spirit. So, when you see me using cards, know it's not just divination. It's direct communication, a visual language between me, spirit, and the story they're trying to tell. And hi, I'm the psychic who talks fast, jumps timelines, and knows stuff before it happens. You might hear me say, this reminds me of another case. That's not me getting distracted. It's psychic linking energetic blueprints. I call this interconnects or soul echoes. Sometimes I pull clues months before a case even happens. It's weird, but I trust it now. This is what I mean when truth before fact, and why I keep records. I read charts, energy, and timelines all at once. My method combines astrology, clairvoyance, and forensic intuition. It's not always linear. That's the point. So if you feel like I'm talking in riddles, don't worry, I'm decoding as I go. I don't just get vision, I get prophetic sequences. They're like energetic downloads that come in as fragments. Symbols, flashes, names, places. They don't always make sense at first, but later they match exact details. The truth always finds its shape. When names or places repeat across readings, it's not a mistake. It's part of the energetic blueprint that Spirit is revealing. Patterns hold power. Welcome to the way my brain works. It's not always tidy, but it's real. And if you stick with me, you'll see the patterns too. Ground rules for this channel. It applies to all cases. 1, I don't make this shit up. 2, I don't speculate, I channel. 3, I speak for victims, not viewers. 4, this work is sacred. It comes from Spirit through me. I walk with them as they tell their story. Sometimes I feel what they go through. I ask you to respect us on this journey. When you argue with the message, you're not just disagreeing with me, you're disrespecting the victims who gave their voice through Spirit to be heard and are telling their stories. This isn't a playground for conspiracies or a space for personal theories. You're welcome to have your own beliefs on your own page in your own time. But here we protect the message. We honor the voices that trusted me to speak for them, and we hold the line for the truth and justice. This is for entertainment purposes only. Everyone is innocent until proven guilty, and viewer discretion is advised. To just understand more how I work, there's a link to a video in the description box that is more detailed. So just a reminder, the video that I posted before this is very important to the work. So hope that if you're new here, you watched it. If you're not new here, there might be new information in the ways to support me. Okay, so today I'm going to be working on Mora Murray. This case is exceptionally important to me. It's one that started my journey way back in the day. And some cases just don't open until the time says yes. I believe that with Mora. I think it wasn't me who had to grow my gifts, but I think the world had to shift too. Pluto moved into Aquarius, and for the first time, the truth has finally had a clear path. The fog is lifted and the energy has shifted, and everything has circled back to where it started, and Mora never left. And now, maybe we're ready to bring her home. So I'm going to make a note really quick for her father, for her dad, Fred. So we talked years ago, And I know that we talked about possibly authority figure. I was just getting into my gifts back then. I wasn't really sure how it all worked. I was just wanting to help. And he listened. He didn't judge. He just wanted to find his daughter. And I would never, ever, ever try to lead down any type of false path. But now I think we're able to do that. Now I think I have a clear picture. Now that I've grown in my gifts and my abilities, I've been doing this almost 13 years. The veil has lifted. There's a huge Neptune influence with her case. The time is now. So again, Pluto and Aquarius, things are becoming uncovered, cases that were hidden and truths that are now being unveiled. And once I found out some information today that I had no idea about, it all clicked into place. And so I'll explain that in a minute. But just to bring it all back, I don't think she ever left where this happened at. And I think that the man involved was right there all along. And I'll totally get into that in a little bit. So, although we have sent in another tip that was based fully on astrology, the more and deeper I got into this, the more that I learned this. Actually, I needed to grow in my gifts. I needed to make my own cards because my cards have become my psychic map. My cards were able to tell me exactly what I needed to know about this situation that I didn't understand years ago. Also, there are echoes in that area. So again, I'm going to probably send this video to Fred if he's interested in watching, or an email. Although the one that we sent is probably echoing another serial killer that was valid in that area, because I tend to do that. If you watch the beginning video before this, you'll understand how I pick up energetic blueprints, similar predators that are in the area. That does happen to me. I tend to pick up those echoes. So some of what I've gotten before, and I even told him about, maybe something that was happening in the area, and even now. But as I've grown and evolved and understand my gifts, and now have the psychic map that I've made for myself with the astrology and with the cards and with my own visions, I'm able to tell you most certainly that every card took me back to where it started. And every card took me back to the person that was last known with her, or seen with her, or speculated seen with her. So there are some things that happened that I'll go into later that kind of confused me a little bit as part of the echoes. And this is kind of more wild than I thought when I really got into this. All right. So all my cards back up everything that I'm about to go into with you. I feel like I've always gotten an authority figure. At the time, I couldn't tell if he was police or a ranger or someone like that, because I kept getting like badges. Now, back in the day, I never released anything. I always kept that quiet because I was trying to be respectful of Fred. And I even told him this. And I always got a campground. There is a campground actually not far from where she went missing, so that would be why I would keep picking that up. Plus, I think that might tie into the other echoes that are there. But now is the time for things to be seen, for veils to lift. The Neptune influence is not as foggy as it was. So I'm trying to think of the best way that I can describe what I feel happened with Mora, as well as tell you how the cards back it up. Okay, so I strongly feel that at some point in the night, this person had seen her. Because the acquaintance card came in later. That means probably that they had passed each other earlier in the night or seen each other earlier in the night. I then feel like this person, who a lot of people have really thought to be involved, is actually a police officer, is actually an authority figure. And again, something that I picked up for a while. And last night when I was pulling cards, I was actually and feeling things. I always felt like there was a big guy involved, someone at least 6 feet or over, someone thick, robust. That's something that had come back in. And I have tapped back into Mora's case multiple times. And back in the day, I did actually get a property at some point. So this guy is a chameleon. Okay, so this is someone that you wouldn't expect. He has authority like a cop, or is a cop, as we know. And this guy is no longer alive. So now I feel as if we're being given a window to actually search his property, his area, to actually possibly find her. Now is the time that we can find her where we couldn't before because of the blocks, no warrant, such as that. So whoever lives there now, or if it's abandoned, which interestingly enough, the abandoned card came in. So I don't know if there's anybody living there now. Anyways, I feel like he was drinking, which I know is out there, but regardless, he got into an accident, but he caused Mora to get into an accident. That's my feeling on it, is that he caused Mora to go off the road, whether he was trying to run her off the road or not. He got her off the road. That is why she crashed. And because of his drinking and the ice on the road, he also crashed and went into a ditch. He then got out of the vehicle, and I always see this sticker on the back of his vehicle as a cop sticker. And this is why I was a little confused, because I couldn't tell if it was a forestry or a cop. And again, it all clicked today when Tracy said, you know what? And I'll go into that in a minute. So he grabs something from his vehicle. He calmly walks back to her. She was disoriented, which came in the cards. He offered her help, said he would check out her vehicle. So I don't know if he pretended to look under the hood or just in the back of the vehicle. That's when he placed a rag that he had in his hand, which I've seen him kind of leaning into the vehicle, asking if she was okay. He has this rag in his hand. She doesn't see it because she's disoriented. And when he goes to the back of the vehicle, he sticks it in the tailpipe. He asks her to try to start the vehicle. The vehicle probably doesn't start, probably due to the tailpipe and the fact that she crashed. She might have messed something else up, but he wanted to make sure that she couldn't start the vehicle, because again, this is a predator in disguise. Nobody ever really, people thought he was creepy and stuff, but he's a chameleon. He can play two people. He can work at a church, which also came in here. He can be a police officer. It doesn't matter. Killers don't walk around looking like killers. This is a crime of opportunity, but also a predator in disguise. And I don't know why my camera is doing this. I can't figure out why it's slow. So I apologize. I feel like he said, come on, let's go call a tow truck, because for whatever reason, her phone wasn't working. And I don't know if that's due to the cell service out there, or maybe it was dead, or whatever the situation may be. Let's get you help. Let's go call for an ambulance. I've been in a car accident too. I'm sorry about that. Let's go call a tow truck. I'm a police officer. Probably had his credentials with him and showed her. That's the only reason that Maura would ever go with anybody. Otherwise, she would have stayed right there. But he was like, I will help you. Hence the false ally card that came in. So I did pull and I will go again over this. This is when, they took the keys, they locked the vehicle, so nobody would steal her car. Okay. So considering his house was right there, which I just found out today, because I'm telling Tracy, I'm telling her all this. I'm like, this is an authority figure, but he has a serial killer energy. So there's echoes of that. I don't feel like this was his first time. Maybe they can't time print anything. But he echoes other serial killers in the chart. Like basically, like there's similar predatory behaviors, right? And so he gets her to a point where it's like maybe kind of like the driveway, or where he's starting to walk her, because they're going to walk because it's not that far. His vehicle is disabled, her vehicle is disabled, but he's got a phone there. So come on, let's take a walk. I'll take you to a phone. I'm a police officer. You can trust me. This is a false ally. Okay. He gets her to a point like in the drive, on the trail that leads up to the house, and she's either tased or hit. Tasing comes in because we have a weapon come in, which can also be a taser or something that's not normal. That's one of the cards that came in as well. But also, it shows up in her chart as some kind of electric charge. Cops carry tasers. It's very possible he tased her, dragged her off into, the wooded area. At this point, he calls a tow truck. I kept hearing a tow truck last night when I was pulling cards. Like maybe she could hear it from where she was at. But it was blending with my other vision, so it was very confusing. This was before I knew that his car had went into a ditch. So that was something that was very confusing to me, but it kind of tied all the pieces together. All right, so I had already done the reading, but this was tying everything together, knowing the facts of the case. So basically, I think she could hear it because I kept hearing how when a tow truck is standing there sitting there idling, and then I could see the tow truck, it had the arm and everything, right? So I feel, had somebody on call, paid them to come out. Dude, thank you for doing this. Give him some cash. Please don't say anything about this. I could lose my job because I crashed. You know, maybe even paid for his silence in some way. That could be the silent witness that came in the cards here that I pulled as well. So he pulled the vehicle out. Now, I'm a little confused on if he would have carried Mora into a more secure place or if he actually waited till he got his vehicle, put her in it, and then drove. This is why everything stopped right there. So she was just subdued at that point. But later on, there's an overkill pattern here, which again aligns with the chart and aligns with a lot of the cards. Now, that doesn't mean that everything in these cards is something that happened to her, and I don't want to really go into it because it's pretty brutal. But he was drinking. He took out a lot of, his anger or whatever he felt if she fought back against her. And I feel like at some point she tried to fight back. There was things in the cards that kept bringing me back to that property. And I kept kind of going back there in my mind too. So, I don't feel Maura ever left that property. Interestingly enough, the road to that property is Bradley. Bradley came in Delphi. Also, I just worked Amy Bradley case. These are how my patterns work. This is how the timing works. So I found that kind of interesting. Also, in the Delphi auto rights, I picked up a predator ring of serial killers that may be communicated online or through the dark web. I tend to think this guy is a part of that, along with Israel Keys. You can think I'm crazy or not. I don't care. It's weird how they all align with their charts. And weird how I keep getting the digital footprint card. As if there's some kind of online digital footprint. So basically, okay, I'm going to go through the cards really quick and I'm going to kind of explain them. That's basically what I feel happened. And then we'll go into where I feel she is. Or where she could be. She's on that property. But there's some cards that came in recently that I kept pulling today that might tell us a kind of exactly where, although that whole property needs to be searched now. That's why everything was brought in to confuse the situation, why he tried to say another officer was driving his vehicle. Okay, he was trying to keep himself out of trouble. The guy is shady. The guy is creepy. I don't care if he was involved in a church. I don't care if he's a police officer. People are chameleons. They hide who they really are underneath, and that's exactly what this guy did. So, and it's taken me a long time to get through the fog of this case, to get through the echoes of the surrounding area and all the serial killers that were around there to figure this out. And it's almost all of a sudden this came to light. And it didn't come to light till I'm telling Tracy, I'm like, hey, there's an authority figure involved in this. And like, I'm telling her the cards I got, and she's like, well, a police officer owns that property right there. And it clicked. Because I had already pulled my cards for circle back, never left property. And we'll go back into that in a minute. But that's what told me. I don't know what is wrong with my camera. It's driving me nuts. I cannot fix it. I've tried. So, first of all, we have the accident card. So, these are my own cards. And these cards, let me tell you, I would not have figured out this case if it wasn't for these cards. These cards were my psychic map to the whole thing. And it's almost as if I had to build these cards. And this is not a sales pitch. This is like I use these in my own cases now to validate my work and to help me find out new things. And if I would not have had these cards, I would still be completely lost. It was like I needed to get stronger in my gifts, work longer, understand how I work more, and build this deck before I was able to understand any of this. And I did not know the facts of the case because I don't research. So I did not know that there was ever anything about a police officer. But I kept seeing flashing lights every time I would tap in, and I couldn't figure it out. I'm like, is this like a police officer? Is this a forestry person? Like, it's somebody of authority. But it was dark. I had a hard time seeing him. And in the beginning, I saw somebody different. But I'm thinking, again, I was seeing a similar predator that was active there in the 1970s, I think, 1978. I have it in my notes. I'll tell you guys at the end of this why I was picking him up. Okay, so anyways, we have the accident card. Okay, then we have foul play. Foul play next to the accident. So foul play I think he ran her off the road on purpose, honestly, besides the fact that there was, it was icy and he had been drinking and all of that. But foul play accident, okay? Then we have the burned card. Now, it keeps coming up. So I do think it has something to do with her body, but I also think it has something to do with like actually being like burned, like lied to, like screwed over. At some point there's asphyxiation. I think this is later because honestly, I can't breathe with her sometimes. And this was a random attack. Like, it's not like he planned it, but he planned it when he saw her and he had the urge. And again, this is why I don't think this predator was the only time this predator did this. But we have the random attack card. We have not everything is as it seems around this case. So there's lies. There are lies. There's more beneath the surface. What appears straightforward may have been shaped, altered, or misrepresented. Spirit calls attention to illusions or misdirection at play. That is completely what he did in this case. I can always see better with my glasses off. Up close for some reason lately. Truth isn't always loud. Spirit shows what was disguised in plain sight. Okay, so that's him creating the lies and the narrative around the case. All right, then we have homicide eventually. I'm telling you, there is multiple ways of unaliving here, and I'm not really sure I want to go into it. Gunshot. Okay, the silent witness. I tend to think the silent witness is the tow truck driver. It could be anybody else that knew or suspected, but I really do think he knew something, and now it's the time to speak. And sometimes these are symbolic. Okay, so we have obsessive fan follower. He could have been following her. He could have seen her at the store and started following her and then ran her off the road. Because this is an individual who becomes fixated on the victim, often believing that there's a personal connection. Maybe he saw her and she gave him a certain look at like a liquor store or something somewhere along her path. I keep pulling the truck stop and I don't know if she ever stopped or whatever, but somewhere along the path she started to. And so then he starts like obsessing over her. I've got to have her. Okay. Sharp force trauma. Interestingly enough, the serial killer that was around there in the 1970s stabbed his victims multiple times. Okay. Oops, I missed this. Sorry. Crushed. So this can have a lot of symbolic things. It could be her windpipe. It could be anything, a certain way that she was crushed. It can also be symbolic for that and crushed by his power and control. Okay, that's what he wanted, was power and control. That's what a lot of these guys want, is power and control over her. A need for dominance, manipulate, or assert superiority, control can be subtle or forceful, emotional or physical, but the goal is always the same: to reduce others and elevate the self. It wasn't chaos, it was control. They needed to be in charge no matter the cost. Oh, my cat came over here and messed all this up, so they're kind of out of control right now. So we have an outsider, somebody that she did not know, that came from outside of her personal group, that's saying that it's not anybody she knew personally. Manipulated departure, what we just talked about. Hey, I got a phone. Hey, can you come? I mean, you need help? Your phone isn't working. My house is right here. Let's go use the phone. I'm a police officer. Manipulated departure. Not taken by force, yet not entirely free. Their departure was the result of influence, grooming, or emotional coercion. Spirit sees the hidden hand. What looks chosen may be tangled in quiet control. A false ally, somebody pretending to help, somebody pretending to be an ally. A false ally card, friends to support, protect, or guide, but secretly misleads or undermine, may offer help while hiding their role in harm, a wolf in impasse clothing. Not every hand offered is there to lift you up. So that totally talks about what he did. He tried to pretend like he was there to help her. And she was lost at the time. Like this is an individual has become separated or strayed from their intended path. They may be physically lost in an environment, which she was, but she was unable to return to her safety. This guy is mentally unstable. Okay, that's where this is coming from. I think she was a little kind of all over the place at the time, but this is really him. He is. Emotional volatility, psychosis, or disassociation can fracture perception and override reason in the storm of instability. Logic is lost, but motive still leaves a mask. This wasn't clarity, this was chaos. Okay. Fear. So this is her. You know, she had fear, but also he may have had fear about her being a witness and getting him in trouble more. So fear drives impulsive choices and desperate acts, whether rooted in survival, shame, or panic. It distorts judgment and can turn someone reactive, avoidant, or dangerously unpredictable. So that could be a part of it as well. So the organized crime doesn't necessarily, although I do feel again like he's connected to people online, but this can be symbolic for this crime was very organized. He got away with it. Just say how it is. He got away with it. And this can also include cover-ups, intimidation, things like that, which this was very covered up. I'm trying to see. I don't understand. Okay. So we have disoriented. So I feel like she was very disoriented after the crash. If she got hit by the bag or whatever it may be, she was disoriented after the crash. So that's a big part of it. An individual is confused, impaired, or unaware of their surroundings. They may not know where they are or how to return. In spirit, just validating that she's in spirit. An individual has passed and now is in spirit. This is recovery. The weapon, this is the card I was talking about. This can also be, again, a taser. This can be the taser because this weapon card is also for a physical object was used to harm, subdue, or unalive. The weapon may not be traditional one, but cause a direct injury. So this is what I feel like I think that is for the taser because I keep getting a reference to a taser and it does show up in the chart as being part of it. Labor tradesman, I'm wondering, I don't know if he had any labor intensive things that he did or if like he knew how to fix things. This could be anybody like I know how to fix things in my house. It doesn't have to be like that's a job. It could be just something. Remains revealed. They can be found if we look in the right spot. Okay, this is saying that they're revealed in this area where I'm getting. This is just a validation of that. But remains revealed as physical remains, they can soon be discovered. Okay, we have a stranger. Okay. So again, no prior relationship to the victim, but the stranger is also a predator. Okay. And he's an authority figure. So stranger, predator, authority figure all together in one little beautiful stack there, pointing to Jeff Williams. I'm just going to say it. He's not alive anymore. So, and after tapping into his energy, he deserves to be called out. So, yep. No prior knowledge, a manipulative, violent presence may have stalked, targeted, or selected the victim with intention. This card can represent a serial offender, sexual predator, or someone who views others as prey, which is what he is. There are those who hunt. They rarely look like monsters until it's too late. Okay. And then we have the authority figure, a person in position of control or oversight, such as law enforcement, supervisor, landlord, coach, whatever. Law enforcement. There we go. When power is abused, the truth often hides beneath the hedge of control. Okay. Blunt force trauma. That could have happened when she, having an issue with the vehicle, but also may have happened at some point along the journey. Because my head did hurt last night, but I also have, again, a hard time breathing with her. So we have an abduction. He abducted her, literally. Describe someone taken or held against their will, may involve coercion, deception, or force, can be carried by a stranger or someone known as the victim. So we already know that he abducted her. DNA. There is DNA that can be recovered at some point, which is interesting because I feel like he did a lot to cover that. But I mean, this is the one that got me, was mature male. Now, at the time, I was not aware of who he was when I pulled this, and he was in his 40s. That would make him mature male. That would be the correct age time. And I pulled a few more cards. We have cover up, which obviously there was a cover up here. They tried to say that he wasn't the one driving that vehicle, which he was. We have the tow truck driver. We have a lot of other ways that he's being covered up, and he was protected because there's the protection card. A motive in defense of self or others, secrets, whether noble or misguided, protection justifies action as necessary, but protection can still leave damage in its wake. So we have protection. We have anger and rage and an overkill pattern. So again, we have anger and rage and an overkill pattern, which again can align with the other serials that I was picking up in the area. They tend to have, we have Israel Keys, which interestingly enough aligns really weird. So according to the cards, the overkill pattern does align, but also, again, I keep wondering if he's not connected to some serial predator network. And every one that I've picked up, Israel Keys, and the other one that was active around there, I got to think of his name, or what they called him, I guess we should say, because he was never caught, had an overkill pattern. But this is anger, rage, overkill. And then the acquaintance card is, I take that again as maybe he saw her somewhere earlier in the night, or at some point, and became obsessive. In plain sight. He has been in plain sight all the time. The whole time. He's been there. The whole time. Her area has been there. It's in plain sight. Greed. He wanted more power and control, more whatever. It's an insatiable hunger for more money, possession, status, control, all of that stuff. Digital footprint. Again, online activity. I don't know. Maybe if they check his computers now, they can find a digital footprint of things that he talked about or did, or the connection. Because again, now this is interesting. And again, Delphi auto rights, where I picked up a bunch of other cases and a bunch of other serials when I didn't know how my auto rights worked. I picked up a serial killer web that connects to the dark web. And I felt like these serial killer predators, help each other or whatever. That was something that they showed me. And that's why I got a bunch of different cases in that case. Interestingly enough, Israel Keys, which I just found out, you said that there was more of them and that they were a network. And Israel Keys was in this area. I can't help but think and wonder. This kind of crime does not scream first time predator. This kind of chart that he has does not scream first time predator. It just doesn't. Now, without going into all the other cards, because I pulled a lot of location cards, the church card did come up. And I'm just going to show you the most relevant cards that led me to this path. These are the first part of my cards, because I did a couple different pulls, and one time I asked, tell me the most important, and you'll see what it is. So the first cards that we got when I first pulled for location on this, and I have to tell you, everything that I'm telling you is backed up by the astrology. There is an authority figure in her chart that is cold, calculated, and again aligns with serial predator energy. And when you align it with Israel Keys and the other serial killer that's out there, there's echoes of it. So again, this is also putting her on a property, the astrology is, but this is just validating it. I pulled these first, we check the astrology. I always try to double check, even though I'm not an astrologist. It's something I use to confirm my work. So this is not any type of guess or anything like that. I'm only putting out the most accurate information that I can. So we have liminal, and last night after I did this, I literally sat on the couch and passed out because, again, I was getting so much. I was seeing that he had an interesting look or a different look, that he was really big as well, but he had like a different face, like a very interesting different face. And then I go back to Delphi and the silver rimmed glasses that I've gotten before. So remember, I get things ahead of time. There's patterns. This is the way that I work. Dogs are being rambunctious right now. So we have liminal zones boundary. So that can literally be the boundary of a property. Liminal zones. Also, it can be like two different zones, like threshold spaces, edges of woods, county or state lines, fences or roads, where energy shift oversights weaken and oversight weakens, often used as, psychic gateways, symbolic divides. So this can also be a property. Sometimes it's water and sand. It can also be spiritual. So basement crawl space, and this came in later today. So I'm wondering, sorry, my cat has opened this window. So there is, the basement crawl space also came in again later. So I found that interesting. But what's weird is basement crawl space in church. I do know that he did have connections to the church. I don't know how close it would be to the property because we have multiple locations here. I don't know if this is coming in just because he's a part of the church or there's another reason. Burned, again, can be symbolic or literal. And I keep pulling this parking lot truck stop. Now, I don't know, again, if maybe she stopped at a truck stop or a parking lot and that's where he saw her at, because it keeps coming in, so it has to be important. Even if I put it back, it pops back out. Rooted area tree base. So this can indicate, root bound ground, basically. Or something that is planted and left behind, if you want to take it symbolic. Woods, so I feel like there's woods all around his house, right? So that makes sense. And woods and house come in together, okay? So house on the property, woods. We have path trail, which they would have taken to walk, right? And at one point, I feel like, again, she was off there being hidden until he got his vehicle. Remote, this is a remote area, okay? There is a little bridge that goes over like a little kind of creek there, so I think that that's interesting. And this came in again later. Opposite direction than when everybody was looking. Everybody was looking northwest, which interestingly, I didn't pull it out, but in the cards I got like a northwest, and because I didn't, that was just part of her path. It's not where she is, but it literally gave me the whole map of where she was going. So the opposite direction of where everyone was looking and where I was looking. So I was going that direction, opposite direction of the campground, because I was looking at campground up there. Also, there is a campground about 4 miles from there. So that's why I've picked up the campground so heavily. And there might also be other predators that have done things in the campground, because and it's wildwood, which is on my list. So that's kind of interesting too. East, so the property would be east of where she is, off the beaten path. So a place that's not being looked at. And again, off the beaten path is not everything is hidden in plain sight. Suggests a location that like maybe people are not looking at, an area forgotten, may feel isolated or untouched. It hasn't been searched. Okay. Cardinal is between two spaces, so like northeast or two spaces, a location not quite east or west or north or south. It's somewhere in between, middle ground, or a turning point. Fork in the road, there may be a literal fork on the road, or there was two choices, or it can be two different areas, which symbolically could be right. And the west of the shed. So if there's a shed on that property, I'm wondering about west of the shed, if that's important. We have back roads, which they were on a back road that was along a river. So that's just validation clues. There are graveyards that are around there. So I don't know if it's talking about that or if it's symbolic for her literal graveyard, and maybe graveyards of others. Who knows at this point with the way this guy comes across. And this is what I'm saying, circle back. It was telling me to circle back because I left the property, but it's like circle back, go back to where she was. So I got circle back And I was like, okay, I got to go back here. And then beyond reach in water. Now, I'm thinking she's in two places, and I'll get into that more in a minute because this came in again about the in water. Abandoned structure. So he left, he passed away and went somewhere else. It would be abandoned at some point, or it could be abandoned on the property. But regardless, you can take it as that because he doesn't live there anymore or didn't live there anymore. He's gone. So, never left. She never left that area. She was never taken anywhere else. She never left that area. And later on, I pulled another card that's going to be even more specific than that. Then there's water drainage, deep burial, multiple locations. So I feel like there could be more than one location. And his work. You know, he used his work to abduct her anyways. Pretended to, I mean, he is a cop, but he pretended. Okay, so then I was like, all right, Spirit, show me what the most important cards are in regards to where Mora Murray is. Because at this point, I had pulled the cards and I got to thinking and I started looking at the astrology and I was like, you know what? Why do I keep going back to where she was? Why do I keep, it said circle back. It said circle back. So I'm circling back. Said property. Circle back to the property. Opposite direction when everybody's looking. Takes me back. So then we got the abandoned structure again. So either there is an abandoned structure on that property or it's saying it's abandoned because he left it. East. They would have went east down a path or trail from the vehicles. Literally mapping it out. Cardinal, she could be in between two spaces, in between two directions. Property. Never left. She never left the property. This was the most important part that Spirit was trying to say. Circle back. She never left the property. Go the opposite direction of where everybody's going. Circle back. She never left the property. It was ringing loud and clear. Then there's like a little kind of bridge, like over a little drainage right there. West comes in close to last known location. So her last known location was, the vehicle. She's close to there on the property. Hello. Like, these cards are so obvious right now. So I'm like, okay, she's got to be on the property. So I start looking, and then that's when Tracy was like, hey, did you know a cop owns that property? And Bradley. I'm like, what the crap? Like, I got that word and I did not know that because I've been getting an authority figure this whole time. Couldn't see him completely clearly, but I kept switching back and forth between like forestry and cop because I kept seeing, like, I don't know what their uniforms look like out there. I think they're brown. I think they might be similar, and I'm seeing it in the dark. So I'm like, okay, cop. Makes sense. Authority figure, because I also kept seeing a badge and flashing lights. So it started to make sense. I'm like, all right, circle back to the property. Authority figure, this freaking guy had something to do with it. It all aligns in the astrology. It's all been under our nose the whole time. It's just there was so much Neptune fog that nobody could figure it out, including myself. And I kept picking up on other echoes and things going on in the area. But now that I'm more clear and I have my cards to help me map it out and make sense of things, I'm like, oh my gosh, this makes so much sense now. So then I pulled one more time. So then we pulled again. And this part's interesting. So we have west. So this could be, so literally what I've noticed about these cards is when they give directions, it's like west of this, west of that, east of that, south of that. Depending on what the layout looks of the property, I don't know. I haven't got to fully look at it. I need his full address to do so. But I've noticed a lot of the times when this pulls out, when like we get directions like this, like they are literally mapping out the location or locations or things that are by, or it's like, you know what I mean? Like it's like puzzle pieces, like a map of some sort. So we have west remote house. So I don't know if his house is really remote, but west of the remote house. Interestingly enough, now it says south and it says basement crawl space. Yet again, I pulled the basement crawl space. So that's interesting. But along with the basement crawl space, we have deep burial. So could she be in the crawl space in a deep burial? That's the second time that's come in. Because also with that we have, and it was interesting because the adult card I actually didn't take out of here, but I had all the other ones that are age in the other deck. So, because I split my cards, it's kind of interesting. We have the adult card. So far with these 3 cards, we have remote house, basement crawl space, deep burial, adult trapped, burned, and trapped. Burned could be literal or symbolic. Okay. Like, that's like a whole, like, code right there. So, is she in a crawl space, an abandoned building, abandoned house on the property? Fork in the road. Again, two decisions, possibly 2 places. The path splits. And the energy can split as well. And which way was taken and which way was meant to mislead. So we know he misled. Then we have, again, circle back. Circle back to the property, people. Circle back to where she originally was. Because she never left. She never left that area. Circle back because she never left. This is part's confusing because we get in water, creek beds, exposed. Now, I don't know if that's saying, like, I don't know if there's 2 different locations. Do you know what I mean? That part's confusing to me. But we also have exposed highway, so that can be like his house is not far from the highway as well. But and then power lines, I don't know if that's significant, but see, this is where I'm getting confused. And the well comes in too. So I don't know if there's a well on that property that kind of like would reference then water if there's because we got multiple locations, so that's why I'm a little confused on that. But again, close to last known location is her graveyard. Again, graveyard can be because there's some around there, or it's like symbolic for where she's at. Off the beaten path, again, where you're not looking, container. So I'm like, okay, obvious. Now we're getting the same cards, specifically the circle back close to the last known location on that property. I just pulled the basement crawl space and the ball started going off. Is that where you're at, Mora? Make the ball go off again if that's where you're at. That's crazy. I was like, basement crawl space again, and the ball starts going off. Whoa. I barely caught it because I had it paused. So I like to take a look at my cards first and kind of get an idea. Every time I say basement crawl space, the thing lights up. The ball lights up. Mora, are you trying to tell me that's what you're trying to tell me? And a liminal zone can actually indicate a basement crawl space, and it came up after the liminal zone came up after the basement crawl space. And we got the house, abandoned, can be abandoned house, abandoned building, basement crawl space. Every time I say that, she makes it go off. Oh my gosh. Okay. That's got to be it, because I pulled the basement crawl space, the ball went off. I pulled the liminal boundary, the ball went off. I said crawl space out loud, and now my head has got all this pressure in it. So she's got to be in the basement or crawl space of somewhere in one of the abandoned buildings out there. That's got to be right, because she confirmed it with the balls right now. The balls haven't even gone off, and now I've got a headache. So, and I haven't been able to breathe this whole time I've been telling you guys about this. Even though I've already done the reading and I come on here and tell you guys this, like, I get drained really fast. Like I said, I sat down last night and fell asleep sitting up. So, all right. So, yeah, I had a coyote that was just walking up the property across the road. My dogs did a great job, but I have to think that the timing of that is not coincidental. They are the messengers of hidden, the manipulated, and the in between. A trap or illusion is being exposed. Oh, I just got the chills. Walker of thresholds. A liminal transition. Crawl space underground hidden. Coyote guide of the shadows. Knows where the bones are buried. Wow. Confirmation that my work is cutting through the illusion, in my opinion. Or this work, this reading. Had to try to keep Casper, and he wanted to go follow the thing. Okay, so basement crawl space, liminal boundary. I don't understand the well and water, but it says west well exposed. So beyond reach, trapped, west well exposed, east, work. Never left. Adult fork in the road. Again, I keep getting that fork in the road. Water supply, familiar area, basement crawl space, liminal boundary. Every time I say the basement crawl space, and I pulled it, every time I pulled the cards, I get liminal boundary and basement crawl space. And circle back, never left. That's something that repeats. So on the property. So to sum this all up, since he's deceased, and this is still alleged, but according to the astrology, according to my readings, according to how I feel, according to everything I've seen, Jeff Williams had something to do with Maura Murray, and he might have had something to do with other people as well. I don't feel like this was the first time, maybe not the last time, because again, his energy aligns with serial predators. And what I was going to tell you is when I first started to work this case, I think I was seeing the so I'll just explain it like this. I got a dark-haired man walking calmly. The CT River Valley Killer, possible echo or direct involvement. Beard mustache, consistent with old composite sketch. Vehicle approaching. This was before, or approaching a vehicle. This was before I knew anything about that guy. It was Tracy that actually told me about him. And he had overkill with his patterns. Consistent with the old composite sketch, he approached the vehicles. And so it's similar to Mora's moment of encounter. Similar predator. It's a predator tactic mirrored other victims. The sense of not being alone, network energy. Make sure that coyote's not coming back. And the reason that I want to explain this again is to kind of explain how I work and pick up echoes. So again, network energy, not just one monster. I'm a psychic medium who specializes in profiling predators and uncovering hidden connections, not just in one case, but across multiple. I read energetic blueprints, more than one, of similarities. I receive energetic echoes, patterns of behaviors, emotional signatures, and spiritual fingerprints from people who do harm and the victims they leave behind. Sometimes the information I get doesn't make sense right away. I'll see someone's face, I get a strong visual, or feel the presence of a predator who doesn't seem to fit the case I'm working on. But that's part of how my gift works. I don't just read one case, I tune into the entire energetic field around it. I see the ripple effect, and what I pick up on often turns out to be another predator operating in the same area or connected by method, location, or even online communication. When I first started working on Mora's case, I saw a man, again, dark featured, dark hair, intense energy. But I now believe I wasn't seeing her killer. I was picking up an energetic echo of the Connecticut River Valley Killer, or another one in the area, a serial predator who targeted women in that region decades earlier, and who had the same kind of thing of pulling them over or approaching them in a vehicle. So it's the same tactic. So you see the connections. And then when I was pulling it, I saw him. I felt like he was an awkward kind of looking dude. But again, it means the energy, his pattern, his vibration was imprinted on that area before others came after him. Like Jeff Williams and even Israel Keys are moving in the same frequency. And this is where it gets even darker. Israel Keys, a known serial killer, was in the region. Jeff Williams had law enforcement ties just like Keys did. And I've picked up before, as I did in the Delphi case, that some of these predators operate in networks, quietly connected through dark web, shared fantasies, or even coded communication. So you don't have to believe in the astrology to understand this. These predators are energetically connected, and I can feel it. And when I look at their charts, when I pulled cards, when I asked spirit confirmation, it all pointed to the same thing. This was not random. This man had done this before, and he may not be the only one. My job is to track those echoes, to name what others won't, and to bring light to the dark corners where these men hide. I don't just read crimes, I read energy. And sometimes the energy of a killer shows up before I know who he is. In Mora's case, I picked up someone with a dark mustache, intense eyes, military energy. Turns out, I wasn't just seeing her killer, I was seeing an echo of a serial predator who'd hunted in the same area decades earlier. And the man I believe who took Mora, his energy matches that echo. And so does the energy of Israel Keys. This wasn't a one off, this is a pattern. And some of these predators are connected, not spiritually, but literally. So I hope that kind of explains it. You can always kind of understand how I work more in the video that I posted about how I track timelines, read energies, read energetic blueprints, things like that of different serial killers that echo the same pattern. That's kind of how this works. And so, do I feel that it's possible that he was in online communication with Israel Keys or a network? Yeah, maybe. They both seem to have law enforcement ties. They were both in the area around the same time. I know it sounds weird, but at this point, anything is possible. So basically, that is the reading on Mora Murray. That's taken a decade to figure out. Again, this was one of my first cases, so this is probably one of the most important readings and videos I've ever done, because being the first case that got me into this work, I've learned a lot along the way, and now I've come back to finish it. And Mora, in my opinion, was taken by that predator, Jeffrey, you know who you are. You know you're on the other side. You know what you did. Sure, he's learned his lessons now. The veil has lifted because he's no longer here to hide the secret. There's others that know, possibly, again, the tow truck driver, and she's on that property. On a very close. I feel like she's on that property in some kind of crawl space or something like that. Interestingly enough, this guy that wanted control sent letters out to people that were involved, including her father, trying to keep people away from his property. Gee, I wonder why. Wanted to keep her close. Who knows, you might uncover more there. I don't know. But he's not alive anymore to stop it. He's not alive anymore to stop the searches. So I beg you, whoever can search, whether it be Fred or somebody else. And again, Fred, I've never stopped thinking about your daughter. I've always tried to tune in and figure it out, but sometimes things happen in divine timing. Sometimes the picture becomes clearer when, the people that do this work grow and evolve and have more tools and can learn how to use all of them together to try to put the puzzle pieces together. And understand also that they don't just pick up one case like I do. I pick up echoes. And it can be confusing when you don't know how to control it or understand it. And I understand it and I'm able to control it a little bit better now. But I always give what I see, and it might not make sense at the time, but it may later. So I've always felt an authority figure. I always felt one had something to do with that. And the campground, again, is only 4 miles away. And there's one up, I think, if you keep going. So that's just reference points. Whenever I get things like that, it's reference points. That doesn't mean that one of these other serial killers didn't use a campground and I wasn't picking up on it, because it could very well possibly be that. Could have been this guy when he was younger, for all we freaking know. Again, there's serial predator energy in his chart. He's very, very close chart signatures to Israel Keys and other predators. So don't let the chameleon fool you. A lot of these killers are chameleons. They pretend to be false allies. They pretend to be helpful, and they're really not. So this is my reading on this case. I've worked on it for hours, for days, for weeks. This is what I've come up with. And I hope to God that somebody checks that property. He's now gone, so he can't give you any of the answers, but maybe DNA can. Maybe you guys find something if you search it right. Maybe if anybody knows the layout of the property, they can connect the cards and the directions that it's giving me. So thank you for being a part of this channel. I appreciate you all so much. And I will see you again next time. I thought I was done, but I found something out and I just wanted to try to explain it the best way that I can, because it's really hard to explain. So basically, I kept getting this memory of an auto write that I did for Mora Murray. Now, I didn't ever release it because I was trying to be sympathetic to her dad, and I had been working with him or sending him information. Well, I just went through it after all of this stuff that I have told you guys. And who I describe eerily sounds very much like Jeff, but also with kind of an energetic signature. A bigger guy, older guy. He wasn't that much older at the time, but we don't know how old he looked in his 40s. Interesting looking. There was like an archetypal description that I was giving, and I was talking about a property and a road that led to that property. And yes, there was farm energy, but I don't know if there was ever a farm there, if it's around it, or if it's symbolic. I'm not really sure. So some of the stuff made sense, some of it didn't. Mora had messages in there for her dad about how she loved him and she didn't leave and she wanted justice and she was okay. And there was things in there about evidence being there, about finding the house, looking in the house, finding her, finding evidence. Everything going back to what I just talked about. And so, and also I mentioned about being a police officer or pretending to be a police officer in that auto write as well. But what's interesting is that at the end of that auto write, and I will show you screenshots, I'll overlay them. And this was in May of 2018. While I was driving back from a place called Fraser where I used to live, I got the name Rick. Twice. I got it in the auto write, and then I heard it again, and I wrote it on this auto write. So basically, this was during the Delphi timing. And so in 2018, I channeled something during the Delphi case and then the auto write. And again, I described the man of property. That didn't make full sense at the time, but I felt like it was connected to Mora. I keep getting reddish tint on that guy's hair. I can't tell because it turned white as he got older. We're talking about Jeff Williams. But it looked blondish with the reddish tint. So I'm not really sure. There's stuff in that auto write I can't validate. So, but it seems like the description is on point. And the fact that it's a property is on point. So today that kept tugging at me. We fast forward now, that Rick breadcrumb loops back to this auto write with Mora and Jeff Williams and what's going on right now. Both men, alcoholics, predators, chameleons. They blend in, they hide in plain sight. They fit a soul archetype that Spirit has been showing me over and over. Not only that, if we look at Abby Williams, and now this guy's name is Jeff Williams, the guy that I think is involved in Mora's disappearance. It's connecting the names. As I always tell you guys, if there's similarities in names, cases, the kind of case that it is, names involved, perpetrators involved, archetypes, it will interconnect or interlink. Or that's what I call prophetic sequencing. I'm trying to explain it the best way that I can because I know it is very confusing. And basically in Delphi, I got information on Mora. I got the name Bradley. There might even be more. I did 10 auto writes, who knows? But I was picking up a lot of different cases and a lot of different dark things in those auto writes. It wasn't just about Delphi. And I tried to explain that. But because I was auto writing and I didn't really know how it worked. But basically, information that I got in Delphi led to Mora. Information in Mora, specifically Rick, led to Delphi because archetypes are the same, similar perpetrator. Do you see what I'm saying? Plus, I got the network in Delphi about serial killer network, and it seems to align, in my opinion. So that's just kind of some weird ass connections that I made today. But this is why my prophetic sequencing works, because Spirit gives me threads even before we know what the tapestry they belong to. Yes, it can be confusing, but when you start to see the patterns like I do, it's literally in my chart to see these patterns. And And also it has to do with timing. Like I said, I just did the Amy Bradley case that I was brought into. And now this is off of Bradley Road that I had no idea about. And the names can fit multiple cases too. But it's just odd that, you know, we have Abby Williams that was a victim, and then we have, you know, the perpetrator for Mora, and that's the connection besides the archetype, if that makes sense, and the type of crime of opportunity it was. Mora was one of my first cases, and now I'm back to finish it. And again, with the very pieces that were planted years ago. This is how justice works through time. And old Jeff, he thought he had the checkmate by taking it to his grave. But here's the plot twist. Spirit talks. And we listen. Okay, I just wanted to put that out there because I thought it was a really crazy connection that I came up with. And can't believe I got Rick in 2018 and I didn't even realize it or know it. I mean, I got it in the very first auto write with Alan. But still. Got it for years, I guess, apparently on and off. But that just shows how names also come in randomly that can fit cases that can be legit. So it's pretty interesting. All right. Thanks.